Hi, my name is Tyler Griffin. I'm the Vice President of Electoral College Republicans, and today with us we have Dr. John Holder of the Political Science Department, and we're going to be talking about how the Electoral College works. So thanks for coming,
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, why do we have the Electoral College?
The founders didn't trust the people to make a direct election for president. They wanted the states to have some input. They wanted state legislatures to have some input. So they set up a system where each state would conduct its own election. And originally, the electors were chosen by state legislatures. We didn't have popular elections at all for the president. Now every state has a law that people vote, and whichever party gets the most popular votes in a state wins the electoral vote. There's actually no constitutional right to vote for president.
So there's basically the way that we do things now isn't at all how the founders originally wanted it when it came to choosing president.
Right, but that's true of a lot of things. But the founders were not fans of direct popular elections.
Yeah. So basically, what is your goal then with the Electoral College? What number do you need to get to win the presidency?
You need a majority, which is 270 out of 538.
Okay. And what happens if no one gets to 270?
Well, there are a couple of ways that could happen. There are some mathematical scenarios where you could have the Democrat and the Republican each get 269. If a third-party candidate, let's say Gary Johnson, won a couple of states, that could conceivably keep either Clinton or Trump under 270. Then it goes to Congress. The House of Representatives would choose the president with one vote per state, and then the Senate would choose the vice president with one vote per senator.
Now, would that be this session then? So since it's Republican-controlled House,
it would be based on the new election, so the people coming in January.
Okay, so then it still wouldn't. This election would still basically matter a lot then.
Yes.
And there are some states, like say on the map, Nebraska and Maine, where it's kind of split. How does that work where they have that extra electoral vote?
Well, each state has a popular vote, and everywhere but Nebraska and Maine, it's statewide winner take all. Nebraska and Maine have an election for the electoral vote in each congressional district. So Maine has 2 congressional districts, Nebraska has 3. The person who gets the most votes in the 1st district of Nebraska gets 1 vote. The person who gets the most votes in the 2nd district of Nebraska gets 1 vote. The person who gets the most votes in the 3rd district of Nebraska gets 1 vote. And then the person who gets the most votes statewide gets the additional 2 votes. So President Obama won the congressional district that includes Omaha in 2008. John McCain won the other 2. So Nebraska was 4-1, McCain to Obama, whereas every other state is a shutout for the losing candidate.
So now going into the Electoral College, we know that there have been times where this hasn't really worked the way that people wanted it to, where say in 2000, Bush managed to get less popular votes than Gore. Do you think that the Electoral College is going to be something that's around forever, or is this something that people kind of want to get rid of at some point?
Everybody talks about getting rid of it every now and then. There was some discussion about getting rid of it and replacing it with a direct popular vote after 2000, but that would require a constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
And that would require 2/3 of each House of Congress and the legislatures of 3/4 of the states. That's the easiest way to amend the Constitution. And a lot of states benefit from the Electoral College the way it is, so they're not going to vote to give it up. The large politically competitive states get the most attention, and the smaller states like Wyoming and Montana have extra mathematical clout because of the 2 extra electors representing the Senate. Yeah. So most states have a vested interest in keeping the system the way it is.
So now we'll move on to this year's election, 2016 election. Since we're the College Republicans, we'll give Trump his chance at the electoral map first. So what is Trump's route to win the election? It's a hard one. So I mean,
based on what you've got here, let's give him Ohio.
Okay.
Let's give him Georgia. Let's give him Missouri.
Oh, yeah, that's Arkansas. Missouri.
Arizona.
Okay.
Nevada. North Carolina.
Now we have to start being a little generous, I think.
Yeah.
Now, recent polls have shown him doing well in Florida, so...
Yeah, let's give him Florida.
Okay.
And Virginia.
So this is his, basically, way to the presidency. He'd have to get something like this. Maybe try to get Iowa, Wisconsin, or Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But that is going to be difficult, because, I mean, part of the way the Electoral College system works is since more populated areas are more Democratic leaning, they do get a little bit of an advantage. It's not like unfair. That's just the way the system is.
Right.
Got to play by the rules. So is this something we could realistically see happen, from your opinion?
I haven't been following the state by state polls that closely. I think this is generous to Trump. Georgia is competitive, from what I understand. Florida's competitive, from what I understand. There may be a couple of states on there that are red that aren't going to be red, but this looks like his most likely scenario.
And now we'll turn these states back to neutral, and we'll see what Hillary Clinton's route is going to be. And as you mentioned earlier, it's a little bit easier because she already has a projected 229 electoral votes.
Pennsylvania, the extra vote in Maine. Let's just turn Maine solid blue. And Florida. And you can give Trump everything else and Clinton still wins.
So that's great. She just really needs to focus on those 3 states. And do you think that's her strategy? Or is she going to try to, is she going to go everywhere?
It's so close, I don't think either of them can take anything for granted. If she's only running a very narrowly focused swing state campaign 2 months out, I think she's making a serious mistake.
Yeah.
We didn't give her Ohio.
You think she would get Ohio?
Ohio is as close to a toss-up as anything, as far as I know. I think she needs to campaign in Wisconsin. I think she needs to campaign in Virginia and North Carolina.
Well, she's got Tim Kaine also, so that can be a benefit to her.
Vice presidents usually add a couple of points in their home state, but so Kaine being from Virginia puts Virginia closer in play, but I don't think they can take it for granted.
Yeah.
John Edwards didn't win North Carolina for Kerry.
That's true. Now, let's say we give these other votes to Trump, and let's say this election goes a little different. So we got Florida, and let's say he gets Ohio.
Wow.
Now, if we got Gary Johnson of New Mexico, if he were to get New Mexico,
Good
that would make
strategy.
it 268 to 265.
Right.
And with that, we get that situation you were mentioning earlier with
It goes to Congress.
Yeah. Now, do you think people would get mad if it went to Congress, or do you think it's just you just say that's the rules?
Well, in 2000, people were angry that the winner of the popular vote didn't get to be president, or Gore's supporters were angry that the winner of the popular vote didn't get to be president. But people understand that that's how the system works.
Yeah.
I mean, every few elections, we get some kind of a civics lesson.
Yeah.
What happens if one candidate gets a majority of the popular vote and the other candidate gets a majority of the electoral vote? What happens if nobody gets a majority of the electoral vote, which hasn't happened since, I believe, 1824.
That was with the Adams-Jackson election, I think.
Very good.
People were pretty mad about that.
Yes. But nobody's going to get killed.
Yeah.
We don't do
Jackson's
that
not shooting. Jackson would probably kill someone.
Yes.
Dual people.
Exactly.
But, well, thank you. I think this is pretty interesting. It's a different system than other nations have, but I think it's worked for the most part for all of our history.
Yeah.
And we can't really say if this is definitely isn't an accurate map. We don't know what's going to happen until November. So thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
And we'll have to do another analysis after we get the real results.
Okay.
All right. Awesome.